Hello, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I'm Jerome Weiland, news reporter for Wrestleview.com.
All right. Good. Hello, Jerome, and good to see you.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Welcome to Wrestleview News number 3, our third edition, which is,
Yes.
and we've only been doing this is our week anniversary. So
Yes, correct. Yeah.
that just means that there's a lot of news here. There's been a lot of things. Golly, Jerome, when's it going to end?
I know, it's not, which is good. We want lots of news.
Yes, we do, especially during this time, because it is just, it's tough just to sit at home. I'm glad that there's something to report. I was really, was kind of worried that there wouldn't be anything, and then
right. This week's been very busy for us.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's stuff happening in the world that that's important for us to report about.
Right.
For whatever reason, wrestling is canceling all their events. There's something going on, I think. But I'm talking about, of course, COVID-19. We are dealing with the effects of that and all of the craziness associated that has upset the entire wrestling world in a sense.
Right.
Last time we were on the show, our very first episode a week ago, we were talking about the possibility of WrestleMania postponing or relocating. Well, then we did a show, I believe it was on Tuesday. Am I right, Jerome?
That's right. It was Tuesday.
We did a show on Tuesday talking about that WrestleMania isn't postponing, that they have relocated themselves to the Performance Center.
Right.
Now there's even more news to talk about in terms of WrestleMania, because they have decided to make it a 2-night affair instead. So they're going to have it on Saturday, April 4th, night 1 of WrestleMania. They're kind of like doing everything that we've seen, that everybody's been griping about for years. The show's too long. It's 9.5 hours long. Like, I was there last year. We got in the stadium around at MetLife Stadium around 5:00 in the afternoon or 4:30 or whatever it was. Jerome, we didn't leave our seats until 1 in the morning. That's too long. So everybody's like, "Oh, they should break it up, make it 2 nights," and they finally did. Not because they wanted to, but because it was.
Well, could that be a sign of things to come for WrestleMania 37? A 2-night event, maybe?
I mean, they already announced the 1 night. I don't know.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be a great idea if they maybe did that. I don't know. It splits it up, but will people pay for 2 nights or pay for 1 night? I mean, it's just an interesting thought I had.
I know. I love that idea. I think that they should. I think it's the prudent thing to do. I think it's the right thing to do. And for them, it's another gate. So it's like, you sell up the show both nights. I mean, yeah, you would have to lower the ticket prices a little bit for those that, it's not, you can't charge $250 per night. That would be, somebody's paying $500 just for 1 seat, that would be tough, but
right. Lower the price of the traditional pay-per-view value as well, because who's going to pay, $64 twice?
Right.
I certainly won't.
Exactly. Well, if you have the network, you're all set. But
exactly.
And I mean, you really could just make up a new email and just keep creating a new account every month, I suppose.
Yeah.
Sign up with a Visa gift card, just put $10 on it a month, and just hey, here's a new card.
Yeah.
But anyway, before we talk about WrestleMania, let's talk. Let's actually. WWE is not the only show in town. Okay.
Right.
There is obviously there's NWA, and they're doing a great job. I'd like to talk about a little more about what they're doing, because I think they are doing a tremendous job. There is obviously Impact Wrestling, which they're doing some questionable things, in my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
There's Ring of Honor.
Right.
And, of course, there is All Elite Wrestling. And, Jerome, I understand that we have a super fan on call to discuss.
Yes, this is my daughter, Gabby, and she is a huge AEW fan. And so with me telecommuting now, because of the whole coronavirus stuff, we actually been watching the East Coast feed that we have through Hulu Plus Live TV of Dynamite. So we've been enjoying doing that. But yeah, she's been an AEW fan since its inception. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, I know Gabby wants to talk about AEW. They
Yeah.
had so it's almost like a tale of two companies here. You know, we had the first Performance Center SmackDown last Friday,
Yes.
and the hard camera was facing the empty seats. It just felt it just felt weird. You know,
It was weird to see that.
And initially, when I saw the hard camera facing the seats, I'm like, do we really need to be beaten over the head with the fact that things are just not normal? Well, it's like I like AEW in that they kind of observe and they see it kind of like gives them a template almost, WWE doing that show on Friday for like, okay, that's not working, and knowing Vince, he ain't changing it. It's because that's just where the hard camera goes. You just put it on that side and it faces the seats. So what they did instead was they faced the hard camera toward the screen or toward the stage. And they put members of their roster in the front row just to make noise and kind of, create an atmosphere a little bit. Whereas, WWE, they just have guys and girls wrestling in the ring. And it's just weird. There's no noise. There's nothing.
It was an entertaining show with Sean Spears and MJF placing bets and drinking wine during the matches. Was actually more entertaining than the matches, I thought.
And then they brought in chicken.
Oh yeah.
They brought in a box of chicken.
There you go.
And they were eating.
I personally enjoyed Sammy Guevara singing Judas.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. So Gabby, why don't you come on and why don't you give us your thoughts on AEW Dynamite? I am very curious to see what you thought.
The beginning I thought it was really good.
Come on in.
Come on in. Yeah.
It was a talking segment for the first when Cody was. There you go. Okay, so Cody was out in the ring and it was dark, so the camera was just facing on him. And then when he called out Be the Elite, and they all came out and they were talking, and then Hangman Adam Page, who they called Hangman Wash Page, which
Hand Wash Page.
I thought that was funny. Came out and he just walked away, and then the show started, and then they brought out staff and wrestlers, which I thought was really good. I thought it was the best. And then Vanguard 1 came out.
Oh, Vanguard 1 was pretty cool. So they had Broken Matt Hardy debut on the show. They also had the Exalted One. What was your thoughts on the Exalted One?
Brody Lee, I thought that was a big letdown because I'm like, oh no, Matt Hardy's gonna show up at Blood and Guts. No. It was a really good diversion. And then they had Vanguard 1 come out, and I'm like, I just started going nuts. Like, if the arena was, like, sold out, I'd be like, okay, everybody's going to come unglued. It's fine. And Matt Hardy can't. And then I'm like, oh, my gosh. It's Matt Hardy. That's a good diversion.
I thought it was, like, like his debut. So I kind of liked the Brody Lee thing, and I kind of like that there was obviously a very thinly veiled reference to Vince McMahon. Talking about Christopher Daniels, he said, "You're not the first old man who's overlooked me," and I was like, oh, "That's Vince. It's got to be Vince."
Oh,
I kind of like that. I thought Matt Hardy's debut left a little to be desired because he was just there in the rafters, and he's just like, like.
Yeah, it was a really good, entertaining show. MJF and Sean Spears. Tony Schiavone came out and was interviewing them, and he says, I'm just gonna let the rookies who don't get much TV time get their TV time, and I'm just gonna sit down and relax. By the way, you're a good journalist. And then they just start betting. Like, they actually have money, and they start betting on the matches. And at one point, Sean Spears said, do you have any wine? He pulled out a bottle of wine, poured him a glass, and he was drinking it. And then, middle of the match, had like one of those takeout boxes, chicken, corn, and broccoli, and
Yeah.
At one point, MJF lost the bet, and he's just like, he went crazy and he went nuts. He's just like,
Yeah, that's the MJF character. So overall, I personally thought it was a successful show, just because, like, WWE, it was just like, there's no doubt about it. Things are not right. Things are weird in the world right now. And AEW, yes, it was still an empty arena, but they kind of made it feel like a more lively atmosphere than, you know, what they did. Even on Raw, I thought, like, with Stone Cold Steve Austin just being there, and I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this.
If they showed the hard camera side at WWE Performance Center and they showed staff and wrestlers, because they can only have limited personnel, them just having the wrestlers and staff out there and showing the camera, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a really good show.
Yeah. They've been doing a really good job. They've been doing a really good job, and I can tell you're enjoying it, and that's what matters. You know, I think it's important right now to try to, you know, especially while we're all quarantined or in, or, you know, worried about catching this coronavirus or whatever, to kind of keep some of the things that make us feel normal. And that's why I'm even though I thought WWE, you know, could have improved their presentation, I still applaud them for putting out a show, because, like, you know, when on Monday nights and Friday nights and Wednesday nights, I expect to watch wrestling, and there it is. And AEW, the same thing. So it's all good, and it's all important.
Yeah, it was a really good show. When I turned it on, I'm like, oh no, please, no. This is going to be just like WWE. Oh no.
Yep.
But they pulled
the fast one.
They did smoke machines, and they did the fireworks. They did everything they normally do.
Right. I don't think they can do fireworks at the Performance Center. I think the ceiling's too low. I think it'd be a tinderbox. But anyway, Gabby, thank you so much for giving us your thoughts on AEW. This is an AEW super fan, and yes, there are wrestling fans that are female, and we keep proving it on this channel. So that's very good. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Bye.
And we'll see you later.
All right.
All right. So,
okay.
Jerome's pride and joy.
Yes. So yeah, my thoughts on AEW real quick. I thought Brody Lee was better for him to be the exalted one versus Matt Hardy, because I think the fans want to cheer a broken Matt Hardy, and having him as the exalted one, I think, would have been a disaster storyline wise. So I actually thought it was good, but I didn't expect Hardy to show up though. I thought he was going to maybe show up at the end of the month or maybe later on down the road. But yeah, so yeah, they put all their eggs in you know, on that show.
Now, the interesting thing is they were, you know, building up, you know, Matt Hardy is supposed to be the 5th member of the Elite in Blood and Guts, but they announced that Blood and Guts will not be taking place next week.
I think that's a smart move on AEW's part. That type of a match is done better in front of a crowd, you know, a full arena. So I think that Tony Khan made the right choice, right move for that. So hopefully when they return back to Newark, they can just do it like they were supposed to do in Newark at the Prudential Center.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean that's still a ways off, and it's not even... Right. It's not even guaranteed that it's going to happen, which is that's a little troubling to me. You know, there's no guarantee.
Right.
You know, they're supposed to be July 22nd.
Yes, right. July 22nd
is when they're supposed to be back, and you know, everything's just a big giant question mark right now. So
right.
I hope that things are kind of starting to normalize. You know, by July.
Me too. Even before that, I'd like to see it at least by May or June, like the projected 45 days that everyone was talking about.
Yeah. I wonder. Yeah. I wonder though. Like the announcement was definitely confusing to me, because, I mean, they promoted it, and obviously Daly's place is big enough, and I'm wondering if Jacksonville just said, you know, we're not comfortable,
Right.
having the show or
Right.
whatever.
In a match like this, you're going to expect someone or someone's to actually bleed. So maybe with the concern of COVID-19 and blood, that might not go well together. So
right, yeah, it is called Blood and Guts, and I'm sure that they would do a blade job somewhere in that match.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
So that is definitely was an interesting. It was an interesting show. I thought it was a good show. Also, another cool thing that AEW did, and that a lot of people can say what they want about AEW. There's a lot of people that have different opinions about it and all that stuff, but you can't say that they are not a fan friendly show. And it really is fans first there.
Exactly.
And I Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks on this it's a service where you can it gives you their phone number, and it's like, oh, text me. You can so if the Young Bucks, I believe, and Cody and Kenny Omega too.
No, it's just Cody and the Bucks. They have these numbers that you can actually text them, and you get a real text back from the Bucks and Cody. And I think they're looking for feedback, basically on Dynamite and the company right now, and with everything going on, maybe how they can do things that are different to keep those viewers coming in on Wednesday nights. Because I think the new norm for a while with NXT is going to be these. What the show they did Wednesday night, I think, for NXT, I think that's going to be the new norm for them for a while. I don't know if they're going to have any matches this week or not. I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I know. It felt like that, and there didn't seem to be an end in sight for those kind of shows. So
yeah, I haven't tried texting either number to see what message I get back, but I thought about doing it just to see what would happen.
I did just for kicks. I texted Cody, and now I have 3 text messages of Pharaoh.
Oh, okay.
He keeps sending me pictures of Pharaoh, and he also said that he watched. I'll go to the thing. So he watched Frozen, both movies, and he thought that Let It Go and Into the Unknown are absolute powerhouse songs. However, he was not a fan of Frozen 2. It was a shell of the original. Felt like a TV episode. Enjoyed both, though. That's the kind of content you can expect.
Okay, that's kind of odd. Yeah,
it was pretty funny. I appreciate I appreciate them doing stuff like that. They,
right.
Anything just to kind of make things feel normal. I
exactly
think is what they're going for. Now, we have to talk about WrestleMania moving from one night on Sunday, April 5th to 2 nights, Saturday, April 4th and Sunday, April 5th. And it is hosted by Rob Gronkowski. And not only is it 2 nights, Mr. Weiland, it is going to be in multiple locations. Now, what those locations are, we do not know, but we know that WWE owns a lot of, they have a couple locations where they could tape. So they have the Performance Center. They have their new headquarters in Stamford. They also have the old Titan Towers. They used to have a ring and everything set up over there as well. So a couple places they can go.
Yeah.
What did you think about that announcement, Jerome?
I think they'll end up doing the Performance Center. I think they'll end up doing Titan Towers. And maybe one other location as well that they might be keeping a secret or keeping under wraps.
I know. It's just, I wonder where it is. Hi. Oh, sorry. Little Liliana just came in the room brightening it up.
Yes, of course.
She's so cute. But it's I like the move, because again, multiple locations, no matter where it is, even if it's just, they go to Titan Towers or they go to the new headquarters or they go to some warehouse or whatever, something to just kind of break up the monotony of just that Performance Center presentation. I've seen now this SmackDown. I watched SmackDown last night, a little bit of it. I had to turn it off once, after a while. It just gets too, I don't know. It's hard to watch, just the empty seats and, it's like whatever. It would break up the monotony of that overall look, because after 3 shows, I'm already kind of, it was a cool novel concept for a little bit, but it's worn thin on me already.
Yeah, it is worn thin. I think it's going to be worn thin on a lot of people, But seeing the ratings, I had a slight uptick today for the overnight ratings for SmackDown showed a slight uptick, and I think it was because of Rob Gronkowski's debut, and maybe because also the signing with Goldberg and Roman Reigns for that contract signing, and so we'll see what the Monday final ratings show if there's any change. So it'd be interesting.
There was a big change from last week's show. So the Fast Nationals, I think they put them at 2.5 or 2.6 or whatever it was for.
You gotta make me cheat here.
No, I know. Well, the Fast Nationals had that, but then when it finally came to pass, they were off by about 100,000 viewers.
Right. So yeah, the rating today, the Fast Nationals today showed 2.563 million viewers, and last week the final rating that came out on Monday was 2.47 million viewers. So we'll see what happens Monday if there's any change to that or not.
Right. Yeah, we'll see, but it is unprecedented for obviously never been done before. WrestleMania being 2 nights. I thought that was a really good move because just kind of stretch it out, give people something else to look forward to, and also break up the length of that show. Because if again, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, last year at MetLife, when we got there, it was about 4:30, 5 o'clock. We sat in our seats. By the time we were walking out, it was about 1 a.m.
It's just a long day.
It's a long day. Period. Let alone watching wrestling.
I mean, the Super Bowl isn't even that long. How do they expect people to sit that long or even be there that long? That's just crazy.
I mean, golly, Jerome. I mean, I remember I'm watching these old WrestleManias right now, and I'll probably have WrestleMania 11 up tomorrow on the website, just because that's a bear to get through. That show was tough, but I like that. Some of these older WrestleManias, like the Pontiac Silverdome, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all were about 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Right.
Which I can live with that. Add an extra half hour onto what they were normally doing. Maybe they're doing about 2.5 hours, or so they added an hour essentially to make it feel more special. Sure. I remember when WrestleMania 17, when they're like, "Oh, we're going to be doing a 4-hour show," and I was like, "Great, 4 hours! That 4th hour is going to make it feel even more special, give matches time to breathe," and that wound up being one of the best WrestleManias ever. And that kind of became the standard, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours, and then out of nowhere, I believe starting around WrestleMania 32 or 33, it started going to like midnight, 12:30, 1 o'clock.
It's too long.
It is way too long for a wrestling show. Way too long.
Yeah.
And no one was asking for it. And it's not like, back in the, maybe WrestleMania 17 could have done 6 hours. I don't think it would have been half as good as it would have been, but they had personalities that at least, okay, well, I can watch this and, I'm connected to a whole bunch of characters, but
right.
7 hours with a bunch of people that just read scripted lines, that's tough to watch, because there's no connection with them as it is.
I mean, I get it's their Super Bowl of wrestling. I get that, but I mean, at least 4 hours is reasonable. But a 7-hour event, and on top of a pre-show that's 2 hours, is just way too long.
Yeah, I know. So breaking it up into 2 nights solves that problem. Yep. I'm really like you said at the beginning of the show. I'm wondering if at Levi Stadium, maybe I'm hoping. Wouldn't that be great? It would be great for the town, whatever city that they're going to be in, and also for the fans, if they could make it a 2-night event. I would love for them to announce a second date, a second night for Levi Stadium. Maybe what they do, Jerome, is, so my seats last year at WrestleMania were $250 each or something like that, or $225. I forget. I forget what I paid for them, to be honest with you, but it was around that number. And you know what? If I was going to go to, so like if I paid for 2 tickets, that's $500, right? So if I was going to go to 2 nights, maybe they say, well, it'll be $400 for 1 ticket for whatever for the 2 nights or whatever. Whereas
Right.
I would be paying $1,000 if I had to buy 4 tickets. I would only be
Oh.
paying $800 for my 2 tickets and go 2 nights.
Right. Give the fans incentives if they buy both nights, like a little discount.
Right.
I think that would be better than trying to charge full price for both nights, because who's going to pay that?
Exactly. Now, could they possibly take an attendance hit? It's possible. I mean, Wrestle Kingdom 14 earlier this year, they tried that as an experiment, and I thought night one, and for whatever reason, it just so happened that January 4th and January 5th fell on a weekend, which is traditionally when they have it. Sometimes they have Wrestle Kingdom on a Wednesday. It's like, well, I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to watch Wrestle Kingdom on a work day, and it doesn't even end when I'm leaving for work. But it just so happened that they happened to be on a weekend. I was like, what the hell? I'm up. I'll recap it. And
Sure.
it wound up being what an amazing show night one was. But night one was almost so good that night two felt like a disappointment.
Yes, right. So one thing that WWE is going to have to do with WrestleMania is they're going to have to step it up with night two, and make that kind of like the one that everybody wants to come back and watch.
Right.
And maybe have some conclusion at the end of the night one so that people will come back to night two, because if you don't do that, you're probably not going to get people coming back for night two.
Right. Well, they have the benefit of having 2 world titles, so you can have one main event each night.
Yeah.
It's just making sure you pick the right one to main event night one, because
Right.
For me, if they did Reigns versus Goldberg on night 2,
No.
it doesn't seem as exciting. But if they finish that off, Reigns versus Goldberg night 1, and then they had Lesnar
Right.
versus Drew McIntyre for night 2, like that's something. That's the one match that I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Yes.
Throw that in there. In a perfect world, my main event and co-main event for Saturday would probably wind up being, my main event would be Goldberg and Reigns for Saturday night, and probably my co-main event would be AJ Styles versus The Undertaker.
Right.
For night 2, I do Edge and Orton, Last Man Standing, as my co, and
Yes.
main event would be Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar. Those are just matches, like, you have to like go by the progression, like
Right.
what
Right.
seems most hot.
Exactly. And what have they gone in that order had it been at Raymond James Stadium? Maybe not. I don't know. But speaking of Reigns and Goldberg, my prediction is some offense from Goldberg, and then a spear and a Superman punch with Reigns, and it's done in like 4 or 5 minutes with Goldberg losing the Universal title, because I think he's just a transitional champion.
Oh, obviously, yeah. I can't imagine that. It's kind of just like the Battle of the Spear or whatever.
Right.
But I would much rather see Roman Reigns versus Edge in a Battle of the Spear than Reigns and Goldberg. I never really placed the two together. There's like those fantasy matchups, like what if this happened? What if Shawn Michaels was able to face AJ Styles or Daniel Bryan or such and such, or Hulk Hogan was ever able to face John Cena? What would happen?
Right.
One of my fantasy matches is definitely not Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. See, my fantasy matchup was always Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, because they're similar in style and in their work rate. But Goldberg and Reigns, they just have a spear.
I know, boring.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, but whatever. It's a match. So it's a featured marquee match. You can't say it's not something that's going to draw people in. When Goldberg was on SmackDown after winning the title, I was kind of aghast, because I was like, you got to be kidding me! It's 2020. Bill Goldberg, who won his first world title 22 years ago, or 21 and a half years ago, is champion again, as well as Brock Lesnar, the guys who got booed out of Madison Square Garden 15 years ago at WrestleMania 20.
On pay-per-view. I watched the crowd saying boring, and the boring chants were huge, because they knew that both men were leaving the company.
I was there. We were chanting more than that, I'll tell you that.
I'm sure.
The one of the guy who had the sign of Lesnar in the tutu, the ballerina tutu. I walked into Madison Square Garden. He was like 2 people ahead of me. I was like, "That's a great sign," and then it was on TV. It's like there forever. I was like, "This is great." I've never been part of a more angry crowd than that. That was just wild, absolutely wild. But yeah, So, I mean, obviously it's fun to fantasy book, night 1 and night 2. That's not the news. That's just us having some fun. But
Right.
it is huge news. It's unprecedented, and
Yes.
the multiple location thing is not unprecedented. They did that WrestleMania 2, but that didn't work out quite so well. In this case, I believe wholeheartedly it's going to work out big time.
I think so too. But given these circumstances, I think it's going to be much more successful for them than the first time when they tried that at WrestleMania 2.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens, Jerome. All right.
WrestleMania 36. We were talking earlier about the T-shirts that they have now. That I wasn't there T-shirt that they're selling on their shop.com site.
Jerome, I thought that I'm just gonna be upfront with you. When you told me they were selling a shirt that says I wasn't there for WrestleMania, I thought that it was like one of those things online where it's like, like there's been a great picture of the Performance Center with the WrestleMania logo on it, and it said the new attendance record of 0, and I'm like, that's a great meme.
Right.
Yeah, it's just funny. And
Right.
I thought when you said I wasn't there, and I had seen a picture like that floating around, I was like, oh, another meme. That's pretty funny.
Right.
And then you said, oh, I just posted about it, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And I had to, I mean, I saw that there was a tweet from WWE Shop on your article, Jerome.
Yes.
And I was like, in my mind, I go, somebody hacked the WWE Shop account and made a fake tweet. So let me click on this link because there's no way this can be real. There's no way. And Jerome is a guy who double, triple checks everything.
Yeah.
I still couldn't believe it. I had to see it for myself. On
know.
WWEshop.com right now for $27.99. You can buy a shirt that says I wasn't there WrestleMania 36.
Right. And plus, shipping and tax on top of that. So what, $35? Ah!
I mean, I get it. It's funny. It's kind of poking fun, but at the same time, I don't know if I want to spend $34 on a shirt, with tax and shipping and all that stuff, on a shirt that just reminds me, hey, I wasn't there, haha, because of the coronavirus. It's like, where's the joke here?
I know, it's Vince in his own bubble thinking it's funny, and no one else thinks it's funny, but he's like, yep, we're going to do it.
I mean, that there's dark humor and there's dark humor. That was just...
Yeah.
Jerome, that was weird.
Yes, I know.
Extremely, extremely weird.
I know. I had to double check too to make sure that this was, not something that was a joke, but I was like, oh, yep, this is real. Oh my God. Ah!
I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. So getting back to AEW.
Yes.
So they had Brody Lee, Matt Hardy debut. We talked about this with Gabby as well.
Right.
In your opinion, since it's a news show, but we're here to give our opinions as well. That's why we're doing it. You could just read the news, or we could tell it to you and give our opinions on it.
Right.
Too many WWE guys coming in?
Say what? I'm sorry?
Is there too many WWE guys coming in?
Oh, yeah. It kind of reminds me of WCW back when Eric Bischoff was rating talent. So now you got Matt Hardy coming in. You got Brody Lee, a.k.a. Luke Harper. You've already got Jake Hager. I was pulling a Jim Ross there for a moment. Yeah. Jake Hager.
Jungle Jack.
Yeah, Jake Hager. And so it's like, Jake Hager never impressed me when he was, the We the People thing he did. I never really... I just didn't really care much for that whole character with him. Then you got Chris Jericho, who was, WWE. So, they're trying to get established names so that they have more eyeballs on the product. But you got to have your own homegrown talent as well to set yourself apart from the competition if you truly want to compete with the big competition, which is WWE.
I know, I appreciate, that there are guys out there. There's no question about it. There are guys out there that haven't been utilized in the best possible way that they could be utilized, right, Jerome?
But when you work one day a week, essentially, and then you have a healthcare package on top of that, and the big money contract, that's really attractive. I mean, who would want to pass that up?
No, certainly not. But to me, I just worry that it's just gonna, I want to see, like you said, homegrown talent. I like seeing the Young Bucks, I like seeing Kenny Omega. Those are guys that have never been
Right.
WWE ever.
No, they were Ring of Honor before that, and when flying through New Japan as well. But yeah, I mean, exactly.
I like that, but I thought when they brought Jake Hager in on the first episode of Dynamite, I was like, do they need him? I mean, like Luke Harper, I truly did feel it was a guy that was completely underutilized, not utilized to the best possible way that he could be.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy, I feel like he's kind of had his day, and I feel like they've done as much as they can with the broken gimmick, with the woken gimmick, whatever it is,
Right.
I thought it would have been better if they did that. Like, he was doing another character where he was like, kind of like ditched out, millionaire or whatever, just like Matthew Hardy Esquire or whatever he was doing.
Yeah, the Money Matt Hardy was another one he did.
Yeah, I'd rather, it's something fresh, because I feel like we've seen Broken already. It didn't really get, I mean, and it can't say that he wasn't given an opportunity to get it over with.
Right.
Maybe they struck while, way after the iron was already hot, got a little cold, and then they finally did the Woken thing. But that was really more Ed Nordholm's fault than Matt Hardy's, because he was in that big struggle with Impact to get the intellectual rights to the thing that he created.
Exactly.
But he was given, an opportunity to get this thing over. He was given a main event segment on Raw. The what was that called? That match that he had with Bray Wyatt, where they're at the Hardy compound. What was that called?
Oh, yeah, I can't remember what that was called either. But yeah, they did that kind of stuff in Impact as well.
Right. So it's like, really everything that he did on Raw was really just like a rehash of something that we'd already seen. There was nothing really inherently fresh about it, and so it kind of faded. I don't know what they could possibly do fresh with that character now. And I just wonder, is it going to, like, Matt Hardy is in his mid-40s. It's like, how much value is he going to truly add to the product?
Right.
That, a young guy, couldn't. Even like their champions, is the former Dean Ambrose. It's like, I'd really like to, see less reliance on former names in WWE than.
Yeah, I read about Dean Ambrose as well as another former WWE guy, and I just don't know how well he's going to do as a champion. I mean, I like Jon Moxley. I like the character, but for me, I'm just not yet sold on him as a champion.
Yeah, I need to be. Yeah, you're right. That's the proper word for it. I need to be sold a little more on his championship credibility. So we'll see. I was curious to see what you thought about that, Jerome. What else do we have in terms of news for today?
Well, I posted late last night. Hulk Hogan settled another money lawsuit regarding a whole sex tape all over again, and this time it's with Cox Media.
Ha! Wow. Apropos.
Yeah, I know. It's like he needs the money, I guess. So I can pull it up really quick.
It was a $110 million lawsuit, right, Jerome?
Yes. Yeah, it was a $110 million lawsuit. I'm going to pull up the story here in cheat.
And it's a confidential settlement, so we don't know what the settlement is.
Right. Confidential settlement with Cox Radio, which is a subsidiary of Cox Media that owns Cox Cable. And one of our local Seattle television stations actually is owned by Cox Media, which is I find kind of interesting myself. So he reaches 110. It was Bay News 9 in Tampa, Florida, reported that he's had a confidential settlement that was reached for $110 million against Cox Radio DJs Mike Cowhead Calta and Matt Spiceboy Lloyd and some other defendants who were accused of conspiring to leak a sex video. And so the lawsuit claimed that the sex video began circulating around Cox Radio studios back in 2012. Hogan claimed in the lawsuit he was the victim of what is called radio wars between Mike Calta and Bubba the Love Sponge.
If I never hear Bubba the Love Sponge's name again, I'll be a very happy man. I am tired of that guy.
So Calta's accused of using his agent to have anonymously leak the video to Gawker. We remember that whole Gawker
Well,
fiasco.
Hogan did make off pretty sweet with that.
He sure did. He sure did.
I don't
And
know how
so,
much money he actually got from it, though.
I think it was 31 million is what he ended up settling with, or getting out of the whole deal.
But
So
did he get it? Was Gawker worth that much?
I don't know. I know they filed for bankruptcy. So did he end up getting? I think I know it was 140 million is what he was asking for. I think he got 31 million because of the bankruptcy with Gawker.
Oh, okay. So
And
there was a final lump sum on that.
there was a final lump sum.
I doubt he
Yeah.
settled for anywhere close to the 110 million.
No. And it says that there was a confidential stipulated permanent injunction put on the whole with Matt Lloyd and his wife. So that means that they will not.
They can't talk about it.
They can't talk about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they can't leak. They
Can't-
can't leak the tape. Can't talk about it. So I know that Bay 9 News or Bay News 9 rather reached out to Hogan for a response, and they have yet to receive a response from Hogan. And I'm sure they're not going to receive
You're not going to
any.
get one because he obviously needs to keep it quiet. Now,
Right.
you know, I mean, like I can roll my eyes and all that stuff. You know, and everybody has their opinion about the huckster. Look, at the end of the day, in a sense, in a very strange way, you know, this guy was taped doing something illicit, whatever. He was cheating on his wife with this girl. That's none of, to me, the American public, that is none of our business. In my mind, he is a victim here. He suffered a lot of personal damage from this. Yes, we found out that Hulk Hogan is a creepy dude.
Right.
Is that our business to know? Did he deserve to have a tape leaked out about him? In my opinion, the answer is no. And I think that, you know, yes, a lot of people feel a certain way about Hulk Hogan. He's he's one of the most polarizing figures probably in wrestling history.
Yes.
You know, went from being beloved to hated to, you know, on a redemption tour now, but there's a lot of people that just will not accept him back.
No.
You know, I remember when they announced that he had kind of, you know, reconciled with the company a little bit. You know, the New Day, Mark Henry, they were like the first ones to speak out against it, and rightfully so. You know, we know this about him now. You know that, and it's not right. It shouldn't be condoned. It shouldn't. But he was taped at a private moment at a low point in his life. You know, I'm not defending him by any stretch, but whatever money he gets from these places, I think he deserves it, because, you know, it's like anybody who has their privacy violated, and because he's a celebrity, it was violated on a scale that, you know, if it happened to any one of us, it'd be devastating. You know, it's wasn't right what happened to him. I think I actually, in my mind, in my heart, I believe he actually deserves it. You know, whatever he gets.
Sure.
But
yeah.
It's not a good story. It's a story that I kind of wish would go away. I'm tired of talking about Hulk Hogan having sex. It's like, oh
yeah.
God,
I know. Hopefully this is the last of that. We'll hear from that, and we can just move on with other news regarding him. So
I know whatever that news is, but yeah, that was something that happened overnight that kind of came out.
Yeah, I stumbled across that last night, and so I thought I'd throw that up there. So yeah.
So I'm just looking through NWA. We already talked about how they're selling merchandise to benefit their roster and crew.
Right. Good move on that. So ESPN broadcasting encore presentations of classic WrestleMania shows. So with, you know, pre-coronavirus and COVID-19, there was all that discussion with Vince McMahon about looking to funnel out WrestleMania, maybe sell
bigger shows. Yeah.
Yeah, sell those bigger shows off to other, you know, companies. So could this be a sign of things to come? Maybe with ESPN, Disney saying, "Hey, we'll take WrestleMania and put it on ESPN, or we'll put it on our ESPN Plus streaming service, and as a way of getting new subscribers."
It's very possible, and you know, I know that they were kind of, you know, when they first started the network, they were hooked up with they were hooked up with you know, I know they were hooked up with MLB Advanced Media, which I believe is owned by Disney at first.
Right.
And then they wound up. I think they wound up leaving them for another company. Actually, I think that since they left, Advanced Media, that the network hasn't been as good as it used to be, in a sense.
Right.
It could be a sign of things to come. I also heard rumblings. There's rumors floating around about Amazon as well, that they were really looking to get WrestleMania on their services, and
Yes.
that could be something.
Right. They already have Major League Wrestling that they're talking with about being on their services. So would WWE? I mean, I could see them probably going to Amazon to try to capitalize on that.
Yeah, very, very possible. Very, very possible. So it's sign of things to come. They're going to be showing, what they call classic WrestleManias, and I was like, oh, I wonder what classic WrestleManias, and it winds up it's going to be WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 32, and WrestleMania 35 in their entirety on ESPN.
I think that's great, but it's not classic.
They're not classic, no, but
not
they are.
Not to me. I mean, there's some people that might be classic, but for me, classics like WrestleMania 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Those are classics because they're older. Yes, it's not like last year's WrestleMania was anything but a classic. I thought it was a good show, but too damn long. Same thing with WrestleMania 32, too darn long. WrestleMania 30, too darn long.
Yeah,
but at least there was history on WrestleMania 30. I was there in New Orleans when the Undertaker streak got broken, and WrestleMania and all that stuff.
Yeah, so they're doing these with commercials, right?
I would imagine so. A couple people, I've seen floating around the internet, that it's just going to be on the app. It's not going to be actually on their network. I was like, no, read the entire thing. It is going to be on ESPN and streaming on their apps.
Yes.
So let's just clear that up right there. But yeah, it could be a sign of things to come, and very very interesting move. I think it's a good thing because ESPN right now is desperate for content.
Yes, they are.
With no sports going on whatsoever, they need some content. So we'll get that going there. And
right.
Yeah, that satisfies their need. It satisfies WWE to look mainstream and have their stuff being broadcast on a reputable network and stuff like that. Not that USA and Fox aren't, but it just keeps showing that we're mainstream, we're pop culture, we're this and that.
Right. Yeah.
So
exactly, yes.
it serves a lot of masters. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. But
it certainly does.
Yeah. But
and then speaking of WWE and TV, so this ambitious taping schedule that they're looking at doing
allegedly,
that could include WrestleMania. So they're looking at taping multiple shows ahead of time for Raw and SmackDown, but there's no mention of NXT. So as we talked earlier, could that Wednesday night show that we saw with NXT be the new norm for a while?
I would imagine it will be the new norm. It just doesn't make sense to keep putting people at risk, for those shows. To tape 3 shows a week, I think is pushing it. Even 2. We speculated, Victoria speculated on Post Raw that they could do, tapings over multiple days. We speculated on Wrestleview News 2 that they could do it. If that is the case, that's a really good move. Remains to be seen. I've if it was just Post Wrestling reporting that, I wouldn't believe it. But I've seen it on a couple of other sites that I trust. So yes, allegedly they're supposed to be taping another episode of SmackDown today. I'd be very curious to see if to hear if that actually happens.
Right.
So they kind of just get a couple of those shows in the can because a lot of rumors floating around. Obviously, everybody, like text messaging now, like in the time of COVID-19 is becoming like those old emails, Jerome, and I'm sure you remember these as well. If you forward it to 100 people, you'll have good luck forever. It's just like all this nonsensical information that may or may not be true. I mean, I've seen stuff about, here's all the information about COVID. Don't take Advil, or don't take something with ibuprofen. It makes the symptoms worse. Or or that the National Guard is going to be imposing a nationwide shutdown on Monday. It's getting wild out there, but. There are rumblings that New Jersey might force people to have shelter in place. I don't know if they would get the National Guard to get involved there to make sure that things are going hunky dory. I know that New York is considering it.
California did it.
California did do it.
Yeah, and we had rumors yesterday about us here in Washington State doing a shelter in place. That was rumors in the late afternoon, and then our governor went in on local news media, did a press conference and said no shelter in place. He was trying to squelch that rumor because there was a lot of people freaking out. My wife went out shopping yesterday, and people were hoarding stuff. She said that there was somebody that took a shopping cart at one of our local Walmarts, just took their arm on the shelf and just grabbed a bunch of stuff like that, put it in the cart, and didn't even know what they were buying. They were just, running to the checkout to pay for all this stuff. It's like, people, calm down.
I know.
Don't panic.
I know. You're really finding out, some of the worst qualities of people as we go through this. And it's really, the main thing is just to stay calm. It'll be okay. Even if we did have a shelter in place, it will be fine. You'll still be able to go to the grocery store.
Right.
They're just they're just gonna have like maybe only 50 people inside the store at once. And so you have to sign in and sign out or whatever. But is that the worst thing in the world? Maybe you could even, a couple places I know are doing call ahead, so you can call ahead and they'll just bring your stuff out to you.
Right. Speaking of call aheads, last night we decided that we were going to patronize a local business that's doing takeout. And so my wife ended up going, it's just down the street from us. And so she was in the drive-thru for 1 hour and 30 minutes waiting to place an order.
Wow.
So a lot of people are supporting this local business for takeout.
Very good.
Great to see. And so I was excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I did like as well, because it's local businesses. It's, our religious institutions as well. I did like during the coronavirus task force meeting today that, they were also reminding, hey, don't forget your local church, send them a donation, because a lot of these places, houses of worship, depend on the weekly collection. So, keep those people in mind as well, because they serve a great service to those that need it. Yeah. So everybody just stay calm, and for God's sake, wash your hands.
Exactly.
I think we are clear on the news for now, Jerome, and hopefully there won't be any other humongous things happening. I can't imagine what else could possibly happen. That
it'll just be interesting to see what Monday Night Raw is going to look like, what AEW is going to do on Wednesday night, because there's no blood and guts, but they did make an announcement about a parking lot match. And then also a lumberjack match. But how are you going to do a lumberjack match? Maybe an abbreviated version with 2 or 3 talent? I don't know how you can swing that.
I know. It'll be very interesting. I was actually thinking that they would kind of poke fun at it a little bit. And have, almost like those DDT videos, where it's like, you have a couple people and some blow up dolls or something like
that. Yeah, and then it'll be interesting to see what they do with SmackDown, and then what will really be interesting to know is what announcement they have after WrestleMania for programming. What is Raw and SmackDown going to look like? We're not worried about NXT because it looks like, again, the new norm is this format they had on last Wednesday, but what's Raw and SmackDown going to look like moving forward temporarily until all this COVID-19 stuff goes away?
I know. I'd be very curious. And, we speculated last week, or earlier this week that it's, maybe, probably the prudent thing to do would be just to, after WrestleMania, just kind of suspend, taping for now and to show some, classic episodes or show a classic pay-per-view in its place. That's a possibility. Because even on SmackDown last night, they did Bray Wyatt versus John Cena from WrestleMania 30. There are things they can do to fill up these shows rather than continually making people drive out to the Performance Center and do a show. It might be the prudent thing to do. It would just be okay, we're going to suspend everything for a month, and we'll see you then. But so that is something that we'll be following to see if that actually happens. I believe there is a chance that something like that could happen. But until then, Jerome will be following the news. I will be following the news. We'll be posted about it. Wrestleview is the place to be in the lead up to WrestleMania.
Check us out. Keep as your favorite.
That's it. So just like you have to support local businesses and the religious institutions, please also support Wrestleview.com. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to us. We appreciate all that, and we appreciate you coming onto our site and reading what we're doing. Viewership has gone up in the time of quarantining, so that's pretty cool. Keep it coming.
Right. Yes.
And, I hope you all enjoyed the show. I'm Mike Tedesco, the editor-in-chief of Wrestleview.com.
And I'm Jerome Wiley, news reporter for Wrestleview.com.
Have a great week, everybody. Stay safe.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.